Are you assuming more, Christie, are coming? Do you know?
Oh,
Christie?
Gary said he was going to be coming.
Okay.
And then we
You're
have,
muted.
I'd
Gary
like to,
said he would be here.
we have a
Okay,
big
well,
audience too for this evening, so it's good to see everybody.
Yeah.
yeah, it is.
All right, let's
indeed.
let it rip. Ralph,
Okay, let's move on. Brian, do you have the sunshine law in front of you?
I do.
Could you read it, please?
Yes. This is a regular meeting of the Environmental Commission of the Borough of Fairhaven. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person by means of communication or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. Due to the COVID-19 situation, this meeting is being presented through the Zoom meeting platform. Public participation for this December 15, 2021 Environmental Commission meeting is available by call-in phone number or through the web conference, i.e. Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until the portion for public questions or comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question, comment by phone or through Zoom by the raise the hand button and will be called on at the appropriate time. Notice of this meeting was included in a schedule of meetings sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, the Hub, the Star Ledger on January 28, 2021, posted on the Borough website, the bulletin board in the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With the adequate notice having been given, the Environmental Commission Secretary is directed to include this statement in the minutes of this meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Gary, welcome. Good to see you all.
Hi, Gary. Hi, Kelly.
Okay, then we
Hello.
can move to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic,
Republic,
which you
which
stand,
stands
one nation,
one nation, indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty
Liberty
and justice for all.
something like that.
Yeah, we got to work on that one.
Well, we had three of them, I think.
It's kind of, yeah,
We at least say it, Brian. They
Yes.
don't even say it at school.
that is true. I go to a lot of swim meets and a lot of times they don't do anything and I get upset.
Christie, would you circulate the latest legitimate verbiage to the Pledge of Allegiance to each of us before the next meeting?
Sure.
I'm not proud of my
think it-
ignorance, but.
No, I think it's really just our tempo that we have to work on. So we might have to do a few classes.
Okay. Maybe we can do them down where you're on vacation.
Yes.
Okay, moving right along then. The minutes of the last meeting, Christie has a very complete set of minutes. And so I'd like to ask, have you all read them? And are you prepared to vote to approve them or disapprove?
Yep.
Yes, you are. Okay. See heads nodding. So all in favor of accepting the set of minutes for October, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't have a November meeting.
Right. And any opposed? Any abstain? They are unanimously passed. Okay, that's good. Now we'll move on and let's see, Kelly, you're number one on the agenda today. By the way, I couldn't be prouder of some of the things you've been doing. I've been hearing about on the green team. You've really got a group fired up there. I get to see some of the correspondence and I know how hard they're working. So thanks for leading.
Thank
that
you,
group.
Ralph. Yes, we do have a wonderful group.
You
We have a
really
great
do.
group of volunteers from town.
Kelly,
we're-
let me just say that to start with, Sustainable New Jersey has just been won silver by Rumson, which frankly puts a little bit more pressure on us to get our own application through. And I know you're working hard at it, so we'd like to hear about that and how the schedule's working and how you plan to do.
Sure. Yeah, I hope to have by early January a spreadsheet with all the points that we have now, all the points that we are close to attaining, and then some other ones that we hope to attain before our next application deadline is, which is in June.
That's great.
And I will share that with all you guys as well. We are hoping and we are, to achieve or get even close to that level of 350. I know Rumson has kind of, they just were awarded, just became certified by Sustainable Jersey last year as bronze, and now have already got to the silver level. They're doing some great stuff over there, but I think something that would really help us as we are trying to attain that too is understanding having more communication among some other committees as well, because I know that there's quite a bit with the shade tree, there's quite a bit of even things that the borough does that we might not know about that can get points, or at least is very easy to get points. It's just a matter of documenting that stuff. So we have reached out to the Shade Tree Commission. I know the new tree ordinance that is going in will help us achieve points as well. Luckily, with the work from the fellow this summer, we had 2 priority actions being done and completed. So energy tracking and management. We hope to continue with that by getting an audit on Borough Hall and Bicentennial Hall. Our fleet inventory was started. We have a spreadsheet with information that DJ gave to us. However, there's quite a bit of information that's still missing, and we have reached out to some council members, and we hope that we can get that going, because that's another priority action. And it is also necessary. The energy tracking and management and the fleet inventory is necessary to get your carbon footprint of Fairhaven, which is another priority action as well. So it's just a matter of having somebody help us to document the mile per gallons, of the cars, what year they are, there's a couple different information, and we have that spreadsheet. We'd be happy to share that. I
And,
sent it to Mike too.
In line with what you just said, I'd have to interrupt and say that Teresa has told me that the new mayor, Josh Halpern, is interested in having the Fairhaven Environmental Commission report to council, just as some of the others do. And so that will very much help the communication, I think, here. We'll get
Right.
feedback from that.
Yeah, I think that would definitely help. Also, as you know, so we're working on getting some of these actions achieved. We're also, there are 2 grant opportunities that are available through Sustainable Jersey. I know some of you have been notified of one, which is through PSENG, which will award 4 $20,000 grants, 8 $10,000 grants, and 20 $2,000 grants. And we have some ideas for that. And then there's also simultaneously another grant opportunity that's coming out that's due in February for the Community Energy Plan Grant. Now, Governor Murphy signed in November legislation with the hopes of reducing New Jersey's greenhouse gases by 80% by 2050. So
Right.
Sustainable Jersey is trying to jumpstart communities to help think about this. And so they put out this grant opportunity to be awarded almost like a consultant to help you plan how your community is going to do that and lower your carbon footprint, your energy. And so I think this would be a great opportunity. Our rep at Sustainable Jersey reached out to Mike McHugh and I and said, hey, I think you guys should apply for this. So that is coming up in February. And I guess as we are going to apply, if we decide to go apply for these, I think we would just hope that we'd have the support from the EC, from the council, from the mayor, because there's a lot of time and effort that goes into these. And we're all volunteers here. And so it's just, it'd be nice to kind of know that we have support behind us.
I'll tell you what, I haven't met the mayor yet, but I've heard some good things about him as far as communication is concerned.
Be careful, Ralph. He's on the.
He's online, so be careful, Ralph.
I
That's
hear he's a really good-looking guy. That's what I've been
Yeah,
hearing.
that's right,
The side profile, not so much, but the front, yeah.
indeed.
Welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay, but he's a good communicator, and we're gonna see that today, and we're gonna get support from more support from the council, I think, this year, and more support from the mayor than we've seen in 8 or 9 years. So I'm very pleased with that. I think 2022 is gonna be a bang up year. We've got so many things on the schedule, and they're all coming to fruition. Go ahead, Kelly.
I just wanted to reiterate Ralph's comments that I think the Green Team has really had an incredible year. It's really taken off, and it has done so many different things. Between the biking event at Knollwood and Sickles, with the raffle for the kids, for the biking gear, and the recent cleanup at the sports field, to the table at the Victory Park table, at the Victory Park event with Clean Ocean Action. It's just been such a wide range of activities and so many different things, Kelly, that you and the team have pursued. I think it's really amazing. So I just wanted to mention that. I agree with Kelly. It's very important that there is support for the Green Team's actions if we really want to go for silver certification. We are in touch with the mayor and with other people at the council to really get everyone to be aware of what the Green Team is pursuing, some upcoming opportunities for grants. And I think we have to determine at some point in the spring whether we think we can get silver next year or if it needs to be deferred to the following year. And it will depend, I think, on some actions that we need to take. So I just want to say thank you to Kelly and to the team. Even if for some reason we don't get silver next year and we get it the year after, I think in terms of community impact, the Green Team has substantially exceeded expectations this year.
That's true. I tell you, we're on a roll, Lillini, and I'm more optimistic than even you are. Okay, back to
yeah.
Kelly.
Thank you,
Please,
guys.
I would
I mean,
like to hear your report.
so it's we have a great amount of volunteers, and we couldn't, it's just people from the community that are interested in this. And we had a great day at Shop Small Saturday. We had our booth up at the Knights of Columbus. We reiterated the plastic bag ban, why it was important to reuse your own bags. We actually had canvas bags that kids were able to decorate and make and take and bring them with them when they were shopping. So that was great. That was, the kids got really into that. We're planning in January to do a recycling town hall, right? That's a recycling Zoom that we've been talking about. I think we're going to push it to Zoom and invite one of the representatives from MAZA to talk a little bit more about what you can and cannot recycle. Robin O'Neill, one of our volunteers, in collaboration with Mike Dawson, who is also on the Green Team, revamped the recycling page for the town calendar with his comic designs, which is great. We hope to still kind of finalize where we are in terms of having stickers or magnets distributed and in what capacity. So, but we thought perhaps that would be, if we can have those ready by that Recycling Town Zoom.
Teresa, I just talked to her, by the way. She has the grant money for it.
Perfect.
Full speed ahead.
Great. And then other things that we are working on, we've met with the schools. With the schools is up and running with Sustainable Jersey as well. They are registered. They're trying to get their green teams in the schools, but they are very interested in collaboration. We hope to do Pollinator Pathways. It's a big project that we are trying to do and work with the schools. I know some of the science teachers and some of the gifted and talented programs are looking to plant milkweed putting different pollinators and the importance of pollinator gardens in town, and you can get points for that. There's a great project called Pollinator Pathways. We had somebody on the green team last night who had also spoken to Father Jim at Nativity, and he was interested in that as well. So even talking about getting more of the community members involved, I think that would be fantastic. And I also think that could be a good way to use some of this grant if we were going to go for one of that PSENG grant that to help purchase some of those native plants. So that's interesting. And two other things that we are working on towards is a composting project. So I had a girl who's a junior right now, but she'll be a senior at Columbia next year. And for one of her classes, she has to do a civic project. She reached out to the green team to see if we would sponsor or mentor her in her project idea is to try to put a piloting program in Fairhaven for composting, and townwide it might be a big reach, but perhaps working with some of the local businesses, the local restaurants like Buscardu, Tavolo. So she will be here over winter break, and we hope to meet with her with somebody else from the green team that's really interested in composting. And I just thought it was fantastic to see a 20-year-old, 20-something-year-old, person from Fairhaven thinking about how they can make a difference in their community and, how to improve it. So that's.
She's in Columbia College?
Yeah, so she's at Columbia. She's right now abroad at Sciences Po in France. And then she's going back for her senior year at Columbia next year. So.
Kelly, I forwarded you some composting material we received at the Borough. If you want to take a look at, I think I sent it yesterday. It might be a good resource for her to get off the ground. It has kind of like materials and it's kind of like ready to go.
Thank you. Yes, I saw that, Christy. Thanks for passing that along. So that's exciting. And then another thing that's working on is, Rumson also, it was in their front page of the Two River Times, is that they also have a green seal program for their local businesses, rewarding businesses that are quite eco and, sustainable in their practices. So that gets you points for Sustainable Jersey. It helps to reward and incentivize, having a lower carbon footprint for the businesses as well. So we are hoping to put together a green seal program here for our businesses in Fairhaven. We've already talked to Canyon Pass, Green Lines, Seed and Sprout. There's quite a few that Lupo even has expressed interest in being more sustainable. So we look forward to doing that. And that would be a great thing too, with the Environmental Commission to being on board with that, and helping to kind of like put those criteria together and to help, get the stamp of approval from the EC as well, that just supports and recognizes, businesses that are doing their part as well.
Vicky,
Kelly, let me know more about that and we'll get you on the agenda for one of our Fairhaven Business Association meeting. I'm very involved with them, so.
Vicky at the dry cleaner would also be very happy to join with you.
We can do it together.
Great. And then last but not least, we are hoping to start a junior green team with students from Fairhaven, ages, from 7th grade to 12th grade, that are interested in being a part of, learning what public service is, how to volunteer, that are interested in the environment, ways to get involved. Because I believe it was the Green Seal program in Rumson was totally brought about by student volunteers, by their junior green team. That is, it has kids from all different schools, not just RFH, but, from the various high schools that want to get involved. And so we thought that would be a great way. We were even thinking maybe even having some sort of meeting at Bicentennial Hall where we can, bring them and, see what's on their agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And this would also help with social media. This would help with getting some of the younger kids involved, and just doing their part as well.
Oh, that's great. This is wonderful, and it's good to hear the update. We will, in January, I look forward very much to hearing and seeing the point profile that we've got. And I'm optimistic it's gonna look very good and we're gonna move straight ahead. Anytime you need anything, you know who to call on. We'll help you on anything.
Thank you. And, you
Thanks,
know,
Joe.
anybody in the EC, anybody's welcome to come to the green team and vice versa. It'd be great to have, you know, collaboration and, you know, working on these efforts. And I encourage if anybody wants to look at the Sustainable Jersey website and see some actions as well that might jump out to you, or you know somebody or an organization or some part of town that's already doing that, it would be a big help because there's so many different actions out there and they give you everything to do. So if anybody wanted to take the lead on that, for instance, one is you get points for registering your pets. And I don't have a pet, but some of you guys might, and you might know how to, you know, what's needed for that. It might be simple documentation, but that's extra 5-10 points that can work towards our, you know, certification. That would be great.
Kelly, is there a set meeting schedule now?
So we are usually on the second Tuesday of every month. We are trying to change that because facilities continues to meet on the second Tuesday of every month, and that's a conflict with some of our members and Councilman McHugh.
Okay.
So I know Christy just sent Stephanie Rapp on the green team all the meetings. So we're trying to find a free date and time, which is, it's hard. There's meetings almost every night, seems like.
I know. Do me a favor though, when you get it posted to us, so, you know, if
Sure.
you decide on a different date, let us know. So yeah, I'd like to, you know, pop in once in a while.
Sure, will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much again, Kelly. Okay, the second item here is the, as you know, I'm blind, so I'm reading carefully. The town hall, let's see what it says here.
Recycling town hall, read the
Recycling,
backs,
yeah.
which Kelly kind of went over.
Right.
Yeah, so,
recycling.
right. We are trying to, I think we decided that it'd probably be better to do a Zoom event at this point. We wanted to make this something a little bit larger, but we might want to hold off to, we have an eco fair that we've been talking about perhaps in the spring. But, you know, just to kind of keep things rolling, especially in the winter time when there's nothing going on, that perhaps just going ahead with this, a Zoom town hall. And we thought one way to kind of encourage people to attend, maybe there's a raffle for a, you know, countertop composter, or, you know, something that we can kind of incentivize people to learn more about recycling.
Cool. Great idea.
If anybody has any other ideas, we are all open. Or any vendors or other people that you might want to have as like a panel discussion. Right now, we definitely like thinking about Bryn from Mazza.
They're very excited about working with us too. And if they have two things, they have recycling kitchen magnets and they have stickers that they've used. Now it has their brand name all over it, and we don't want that if we distribute it in town. But we do have the money, as I said before, to essentially we could take their designs, modify them. Teresa has the contacts to do it, and you can talk to her directly, or I will, and we'll move ahead there.
Yeah, because we were thinking with Mike Dawson already being, you know, so well known in town with his designs, and he just
Sure.
redesigned the calendar. If we can use his design on the calendar on the sticker, so you know,
That'd be
we've been
really
looking
nice.
into
That would be
that.
nice. Okay, the next is Brian. The fine work that you've done tracking the cleanliness of our waters. By the way, this afternoon, I walked down to the end of the dock. It was 2 foot of water there, and I could see all the way to the bottom. That is nice.
Clean water, clear water is not always clean, but thank you. Yeah, it's been the clarity of the water has been very good actually all year. But it is also cleaner. We did have a scare in, well, we had an alert in Red Bank that there was some possible leaching from some properties coming out of a sewer or actually they're leaders from the houses. NJDEP and Middletown got to, actually it was on the Middletown side, excuse me. So got together, and this is a collaboration that's really worked really well with this whole, Navasik River Municipalities Committee, which was resurrected by myself. So we all got together, the DEP came in, had 1,500-gallon water truck come in, had to dump the dye upstream in the sanitary line. And then they had a boat with a captain, not me, going up and down the shoreline to see where the green dye, if there was any green dye leaching out. They would see it very clearly, as you noted, Ralph, with the clear water, it would show up very vividly. And it was happy to report there weren't any. So that's good and bad. There is something, leaching somewhere, but it wasn't easily found by doing that test. But it's just great to see the collaboration between the different entities involved and coming together. We had multiple meetings on it, and the test was done about a week ago, maybe a little bit more. So we're still looking. There's still some other issues, but I have still everybody at the table from around the river. So, I just keep on pounding the pavement and getting to the higher hanging fruits to, see where the infrastructure issues are.
Well, commendations to you. All the measuring and testing you've done over the past 2 years has really enabled them to pick out problems and end the problems and clean up the water. So
Thank you.
it's very encouraging. Okay, Brian, thank you. Next on the list is the Stormwater Ordinance. I think we're going to hear, let's see, from Brian here.
Yeah, I guess I can continue. So I spoke with the head of planning and zoning, who's one person, and he's definitely amenable to the idea, which is what we discussed, to not have another set of ordinances on the books, but more of a guide of best practices for what we can do to help not eliminate, but cut down on stormwater coming off of various properties in various stages of remodeling or construction or what have you. So we have to now sit down, go through that. It's time isn't really been of the essence because they just had to adopt NJDEP's stormwater management update.
Right.
So we thought it was a little bit too much. We pile something else on there. So we've been kind of letting them digest that. And it's a project slated for 2022, but definitely we have the support of the planning and zoning boards.
And Brian, how would this guideline work in terms of, I guess what we're saying is that we don't want to make the ordinance, a new ordinance that would be more restrictive, but we want to provide more restrictive guidelines or suggestions?
Just going to be guidelines and suggestions that would be handed out and also available online to people that are doing, major renovations or new construction.
But it would not be, right? I mean, even if you suggest something that is a step up, they can still choose to just follow the ordinance, right? Is that sort of, it's already.
Right now, there's no intentions to propose more ordinances. No, this would be more of a
Just
guideline
recommendations.
and suggestions to not cram more laws and ordinances into the pipeline, which has already been done 2021 with the adoption of the new, more restrictive stormwater management guidelines or not guidelines, but they're actual ordinances that had to be adopted and passed by the town already.
People put in new driveways with quite a bit of, quite commonly, as well as the new houses that are going in have new driveways. And if we put in a trial, as you may know, 2 years ago at the bottom of our driveway, so that we dug 10 pipes into the ground 10 feet deep, and it was sandy soil anyway. And we put a grate there that picks up all the water before it gets to out across the sidewalk and to the curb.
That is definitely one of the guidelines that will be posted in this.
Well, it's so cheap to do, when you're doing the driveway, it costs almost nothing extra, and it has done marvelously. I think we have enough good evidence that we ought to strongly encourage it.
You're
What-
singing to the choir. Yes,
So,
Kelly.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How are you going to, I mean, these are guidelines here, right? So people are just gonna look at them and say, okay, great, awesome, but I'm not gonna do that. You know, how are we going to encourage, now, when the state offered this stormwater ordinance, the new levels, there was a mandatory that you had to kind of meet this criteria. But then there was even more stringent levels that Clean Ocean Action were behind and did a lot of research with.
Mhm.
And it just seems to me, being a town right on the river, we are a coastal town, that would want to take a little bit more stringent actions in our stormwater runoff. And I understand the idea of guidelines and suggestions, but I also wonder how many people are actually going to, I mean, we suggest that they don't remove trees from the property, but they clear cut properties here in town. So how do
So-
you?
I think honestly, it's gonna help the planning and zoning boards because they'll have a set of guidance when they're making their recommendations. So I think it's having that first step before officially getting to an ordinance step.
Yes.
So I think having this kind of like a best practices like available now can slowly start, they can start making these recommendations when people are planning new things around town. And then slowly, I think, we can eventually develop into an ordinance based on kind of what we're seeing. This is the kind of in between step between, to get there.
That's 100% took the words out of my mouth. So it's a step to maybe towards that. I'm hoping not, that enough people would have enough presence of mind and love for and for the watershed, and also for, and it's an educational process from our standpoint, because people don't understand. A lot of times they don't look at the grate and see, yes, this flows to the river. But as I said, it was already a big step in 2021. They had no choice, right? The towns had no choice but to adopt them. This was prompted by the white paper that was given to me and shared in the meetings from Clean Ocean Action. And there's other ideas that we've come up with, hence Ralph bringing up the end of his driveway. There's other ways to do it. You look at the end of my driveway on River Road, there's the cobblestones there. That's somewhat permeable. It was there before me. I'm going to change it to make it even better, but there is a huge storm scepter in the middle of my parking lot. And I paved it so it would go into there and flow better into the scepter. So these are all great suggestions that we can make. We can't enforce them. Yes, I agree with you, Kelly. But I think it's, as Jesse pointed out, it's a step towards making things a little bit better. I'm always careful to not shove too much down people's throats. That's all.
Yeah, Kelly, let me just say that there are ways of working it too through suppliers. For example, L&L, which does a lot of the paving in the town. L&L did our driveway, and I provided them with the drawings for what I wanted, and they did it. And I've been talking with them, and they've been offering the same thing to others of their customers in Fairhaven and elsewhere.
Yeah.
So it catches on, maybe less slowly, less rapidly than you'd like, but it does catch on these ways.
I mean, I think that as long as it's voluntary, adoption of that will be sporadic. What would be good to do, and recognizing we've just passed the ordinance, that is essentially the model ordinance this year. I think it would be at some point good to do some analysis to try to understand what would be the impact of the Clean Ocean action suggestions if they were to become an ordinance, or if a portion of that were to become a revised ordinance, and try to understand what might be the impact to homeowners and to construction and so on. So there we have something more tangible to figure out if it's restrictive to the point of being something not palatable, or if it's restrictive, more restrictive but reasonable. And I'm not clear which one it is. So anyway,
So,
I think that
so
it's
here,
worthwhile to do more work on that.
here's what we're up against. 18.2 million gallons of water go into the river every 1.5 inches of rain. Anything that is done to reduce that helps. If we can help to do it by suggestions now and not increase the cost exponentially to people's already very costly projects because of inflation, the cost of lumber was up 400%. We know it's not easy to get supplies. We know that things are very difficult. We don't want to make it more restrictive. So that's why I suggested if somebody else wants to take it over, make it ordinances, go ahead. But that's why I'm rather take this angle today and then see how it works and have it set the groundwork and then say, hey, not enough people are doing it, or it's working, people are supporting it. Let's now bind it and make it, put some of these in as ordinances. That's all I was looking at.
And
And I have the support of the planning and zoning board. New ordinances, probably not going to get the support that we're looking for. So I figured it was a lot easier to do it this way, to get something at least, better than nothing to do. But if somebody else wants to take on the project to make it ordinances, go ahead.
And, part of your suggestions, is it also rain gardens as well, like individual and also on commercial? I was just at that Rumson Environmental Committee put on that rain garden, presentation a week ago at Bingham Hall. How individuals and also businesses, right? And I hope that this ordinance also applies, to the commercial, like the new Sunoco,
Applies to anybody that's doing, it's not an ordinance. It applies to anybody that is doing any kind of projects in town that they could incorporate these ideas and best practices or better practices into their site plan.
And perhaps this would be.
If we work on a, there's no reason to go to Nativity, who I've already been to multiple times, to build 2 rain gardens. They're on the proposed plans from Rutgers.
Right.
And there's no reason to not piggyback on that, to put in some milkweed and making pollen gardens, because you have to plant them anyway. So there's a lot of things that are suggested in there. Put the downspouts into the ground, but not to the point where you gotta, dig up your whole foundation and put in all new French drains just because you're doing an addition on your home. But
Sure,
anything
but
to
I
help
think that-
reduce it helps. If we cut it down by 10%, that's 100, that's 900 gallons, 900,000 gallons of water, whatever. So it's a start. And if we need to put it as an ordinance, then we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, is all I'm saying. It's better than
Okay.
nothing. We have nothing.
Can I just say something, please?
Sure.
I think this would be a great opportunity for a townwide meeting or an educational informational session to homeowners being like, how can we reduce stormwater? Why is it important? Here are some things you can do. Because at this meeting, there were people from Rumson and at Fairhaven, and their town engineer was there talking about how to do a rain garden and what the importance of it is, and how their stormwater ordinance is even more stringent than the state one because of the unique environment that we live in, surrounded by water. And so I think this would be a great, yes, you can suggest it, but I also think having experts here talk about what you can do. Can we show you the one downtown? Can we show you how easy it is to do it? Because why is it important? Brian, I don't think homeowners, when they're building a new lot, they don't think about stormwater. They don't know why it's important. They don't understand that 18,000 gallons go with 1.5 inches of rain and brings every single thing that you put on your lawn and in your house and on your driveway goes right into the drain, into the river.
Preaching to the choir.
So, I think this would be a
And it
great
should be part of the
opportunity, a
eco-
teaching
yeah.
moment
It
for
should be
people,
part of the-
because if they don't
it should-
know, then they're not gonna take those
100%, but that's
suggestions
why
seriously.
this would be just that. Here's a brochure. Okay, you talk about rain gardens. What am I gonna do with rain? Why, so it's here and it's spelled out and it's here and it's given to the homeowners that are doing these projects or builders or whomever. Here's it all laid out. And also come to the Eco Fest in the spring, and we're gonna have a table talking about it. 100%, absolutely. It's two-sided. It's an educational thing. And it's also to say, okay, here's best practices, that it just all part of it.
Brian, you put in you did a great job. You put in 2 rain gardens and you're gonna replant them, of course, in the spring at Knollwood School. That might be, working with Kelly, that might be a nice place to have a Saturday morning informal lecture, which you invite the town to see what the rain garden is doing, how it's picking up all the water from the roof of Knollwood School and putting it in the ground instead of on Hance Road. Wouldn't that be in line with what Kelly's looking for?
Why do you think I put them in Knollwood School with the kids? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I know with the kids, now get the parents. Now we
That's
get.
why they're there.
Opportunity for a media coverage and.
We already had it.
That too.
Stuff in the news, and when they see stuff like that in the 2 River Times, that Fairhaven is doing this, and we are talking to residents about, stormwater and the importance of it, that's when it probably will be something that people will catch attention, will pay attention to. I agree. If you have a brochure available that can be provided to people doing construction, that will be helpful as well. But I agree with Kelly that communication aspect is important. And I love Ralph's idea. And the idea of putting out an article to match that.
Yep, I think let's look at that. I've put it on the agenda here for our February meeting so that we can talk about kicking that off in the spring. It's a good idea, Brian.
We had media coverage and it was all covered when I built them.
Yeah, it was, but we'll do it again.
Absolutely. That's why they're there. There was
Do it again.
it was a double-edged thing. It was educational. 3, educational, brought the kids into it too. And it serves a purpose. It's not just we wanted to build 2 ponds in front of the.
Okay, well, they were ponds.
But yeah, we're on the
Now,
same page.
speaking of ponds, McCarter Pond is next on our list. This has been one of the most frustrating things in my time here, that we have not done much in McCarter Pond. As good engineers, we tried out various aeration schemes. They didn't turn out to be powerful enough to do anything, and we saw a nice green pond again this summer. Everybody's agreed now. Teresa, I believe, has talked to the council about this with some of the council members. We've talked about essentially hoeing the pond, a tractor with a water rake, hydro raking the pond, and letting it dry on the side of a pond, and then take it away. You can't afford to take away the water laden stuff. Take it away, and I believe that we're going to go out for some consultants in the first quarter of this year. I think the mayor may want to add to this, but I think we are going to be going out with a bond issue, probably of several $1 million. And this will be included in that bond issue. And then we will finally have a pond that we are proud of. And the kids can fish in and everybody can point to and walk past. I hope. I hope this first quarter is when we do it.
The last update I got from Teresa was just that she was still working on it and putting the pieces together to move forward with the project.
Yep. So, Mayor, would you like to add anything to this?
No, I actually wanted to add and this is probably going to come off as sounding very much at the beginner level, but I've gone to the pond during the summer close to where that picnic bench is.
Right.
And you see that all of that green algae there. And I guess there's a drain right underneath that bench. And the drain is always clogged. And when I take a stick and I move some of that clog out of the way, all the green starts draining into the drain then. And I'm just wondering if there was a way to keep that drain unclogged, whether that might alleviate some of that algae problem for the entire pond.
No, what happens, Mr. Mayor, is that you'll get some of the green algae to come out, but the real root of the problem, no pun intended, is, or maybe, is that the pond has gotten so shallow that it's allowing that green algae to grow.
To
So green
produce.
algae won't produce in 3 to 4 feet of water.
The
So-
algae,
So once you hydro rake the pond and bring it back down, it was never a deep pond to begin with. It was an ice pond for the McCarter estate. And you bring that level back to where it should be, that green algae won't be able to photosynthesize and grow.
Understood.
But the flow would be better, yes. So essentially, if you don't have the green algae, it doesn't clog it up, you're gonna have better flow through the pond, which will essentially keep it cleaner also.
I've walked into it with high boots, let me tell you, and I've measured the depth. The depth, by the way, has, in the last 2 years, the depth has decreased by about 40%. And what it is all the algae dies, sinks to the bottom, becomes food for the next year's supply. And the bottom of the pond is just filled with dead algae that is providing food for more algae.
Yes.
So we've got to get that out of there, and I think everybody, all the technical people involved agree with that.
Okay.
We are all aligned and on the same page. And it's just a matter of Teresa continuing to work on it to get it through the proper channels and go through the proper protocols to eventually get it bonded. I've already put together an agreement where we can hydro rake it, leave it on site, as Ralph said, let it drain, truck it ourselves over to the natural area and spread it over there. It's just organic material.
Yeah, we'll probably get a consultant. I think Peter, is it Peter Larkin? Name strikes me. He's one of the consultants who does this sort of thing. And I know this is what he's recommending. He gave us a price estimate. It was over $1 million.
No, it wasn't anywhere near that.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was 80 to 100,000 to hydro rake it. And if we move the materials ourselves, it's whatever it costs the town to move the materials.
But moving the materials was the cost. It was a high cost.
We don't have any place to put it. That's what I'm saying. We do it
Yeah.
ourselves.
Right.
The
So
borough would do it.
we'll get Larkin's, I believe we're going to get Larkin's recommendation, give it to the council, and hope that this council, Mr. Mayor, hope that this council acts on it this quarter.
Let me just pitch in here though, Ralph. Let me just say, the last time I was a newbie on council,
Yes.
and what got in the way of it last time was the natural area people. This
Yes.
exact proposal was on the deck, and the natural area people blew a gasket. So I think we should all be careful about that, because that was the
Jonathan,
main-
let me correct you one
that
thing.
was the impediment.
They blew a
Got it.
gasket. They blew a gasket because the suggestion was made that the stuff that was pulled out of the pond be set to dry in a natural area.
So
Where's it going
Jonathan,
this
I'll
time?
That's
go
why
one,
they blew their gut.
Jonathan,
going
I'll
this
go,
time,
Jonathan, I'll go back even further. We had a spoils area that we could have dumped whatever we wanted to, as long as it was approved by the DEP at Rumson Country Club. So I'll go back 20 years if you want.
All right. Well, Ralph, where's it
Okay.
going this time? Where's it going this time?
And
What's
the
the plan?
natural area, but it has to de-water at the pond.
We're
All right,
going, we may dewater it in small lots and 2 or 3 lots, dewater it, let it drain, then put it in trucks when it weighs a quarter of what it weighed, and we can truck it across to our dump.
As I said,
Not to
I
the
would-
dump, it goes to the natural area. So exactly where it would go, Jonathan,
Yeah, I
based
know.
on when I had the conversations with the natural area people, is that fenced in area. Now that it's fenced in, they were gonna take the fence down, and it would be a perfect spot for it right there. And it's all composted material to go on.
As I said, I'm happy to hear it. It's just last time that was the roadblock. Everybody should know that.
I
Yep,
promised everybody I would make one more run at it, and if it doesn't get done, I'm done with it.
we're all quitting.
Pretty much.
Question, and that's just on the process of hydro raking. What happens to all the plastic and the fishing nets that are there? Because
They're on it.
water is full of plastic.
And there
How
would
do you
be-
know that? How do you know all the fishing nets and plastic
don't
are
see-
in there?
Yeah, I mean, that would be all set. The short answer is it's all separated. Whatever other unorganic or non-organic materials would be separated out.
And
I
that,
didn't,
guess
I
that-
didn't find any, to be
Well,
honest.
I haven't seen any.
I didn't find any, and I did crawl around the pond in high boots.
Yeah, but if there are any, Councilwoman, they would be obviously separated from the organic material and put in the proper receptacles to get rid of.
Just as an FYI, I have restoration of McCarter Pond listed at 175,000.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Let's wait till we see Larkin's number. I know the number you have is correct. It's the number in there.
Is there a process of bidding to a couple different parties, or how are we approaching this in terms of?
I don't know.
There's Princeton, there's two entities in the state that do it. One is in Bridgewater, the other one is Princeton Hydro. They've both been consulted over the years. So we would get, and we had estimates from both of them. So once it would go out to bid, it would go out to, if there's any other entities that do this, it's very specialized, as you can imagine, then it would be a regular bid process that the council would be tasked to look at, hopefully consult with us and let us look at the bids and see, and then it would, and then make a decision just like any other project in town. Yes.
Okay, thank you all for that. We look forward with bated breath to this one. Okay, moving on then. We have the gas leaf blower notes. And I have some things to add from Los Angeles, from the northern part of Los Angeles on the water. They had this kind of ordinance. But Kelly, what can you tell us here?
Yeah, this was brought to the Green Team. This was through, as an email to the Green Team in Fairhaven by a former resident who was up visiting and was disturbed and alarmed by the amount of gas leaf blowers at all hours of the days, on parking lots and everywhere, you know, in town. I know that in previous posts on Fairhaven Facebook page, there have been complaints. There's been, you know, about this as well. But there have been towns and in New Jersey as well as other areas, you know, comparable to the size of Fairhaven, that have limited the use of gas leaf blowers during the time, because it's noise pollution. It is also, you know, air pollution as well. Sometimes it's kicking up a lot of dust and dirt that doesn't need to be blown away. So as a concerned resident, he just brought this to our attention. What are our thoughts? He also gave us some other examples of other municipalities that did this. And is it something that we should look into seriously and consider regulating or educating or, you know, suggesting?
Kelly, I did some research on this, and we actually have someone, if he's still in the audience, who's a professional on this subject. But the number one, he wasn't a resident, but that's okay. I can't stand the noise. So I did a study. There is a noise ordinance, by the way, in the town. So, and there's also hours of noise of that permitted noise in the town, and we can get a copy of that. It's on the borough website.
And the police have a noise meter.
And post that, and then however you police it, we'll try to police it. The next is most gas-powered leaf blowers are quieter, the new ones, than the battery, i.e. electric lithium battery-powered leaf blowers. So we have to be careful here. We might end up with more noise. It was an average of about 10 decibels more noise with an electric one, which I have, and it's really loud. So I think it's one of these things, not opposed to looking into it further. But I think if it's a noise issue, be careful for the unintended consequences if we put some sort of ordinances that the leaf blowers can't be gas powered in the town.
They're making a lot of progress on batteries, so I think it's going to go back and forth.
But it's the noise. Ralph,
Well,
it's
it's
not
the noise.
that.
Yeah, the noise though comes from the fan and the design of the fan
That's
and
correct.
the design of the air exhaust.
That's
And
correct.
that they're just crappy designs. I mean, you can clean up either a gas or an electric one.
Right
Noise
now,
level.
as the studies show, the generally electric ones, battery powered, whatever you want to call them, are louder than the gas powered ones.
Yeah,
Well, I
they're
think
also
that-
ineffective. I bought one.
Mine will blow you, it'll blow it right out of your hand.
Waste of money that I bought.
Well, I'll come over and you can try mine, put you on a skateboard and turn it on and you go ripping down green.
Okay.
It'd be really cool.
But I think the issue of the noise pollution for sure, at all hours. So this gentleman that was emailed was, 6:30 p.m. on a Saturday. Is there anything in our jurisdiction to kind of limit this, especially, whether during the season or off season? Obviously, leaf blowers aren't.
Well, I
can-
believe that most of the gas blowers that I've heard, and I'm familiar with decibels and noise, most of the gas blowers exceed our noise requirements.
I can speak to Chief McGovern and see if it under his jurisdiction. I don't think it is. It might be under the town and municipal jurisdiction in terms of code enforcement. But by all means, and find out, and then we can post a notice on social media, on the Nixie, to say, hey, look, here's the noise ordinance regulate, here's the ordinance, here's the times. And again, it's an educational thing to the townspeople, to the residents, to say, hey, it's, not cool to be out there blowing your leaves at 6:30 on a Saturday evening.
Well, yeah,
There are definitive times that it is prohibited.
I believe you can't start it before 9 a.m. now.
Depends on the day. During the week, I think it's like 7 or 8.
Oh, is it?
Mhm. And Sunday's different than Saturdays, as you can imagine. So, but I would say, again, going back to the educational thing is, we get it, or Christie will pull it up and it's right there on the town, pages, ordinances, and post it, and just as a reminder. And then who enforces it? It's definitely not us, but it would be probably code enforcement within the town. But I'll shoot Joe McGovern a text in the morning and ask him. He might laugh at me, but it is an issue, and there's nothing worse than, being out on, the river on a Saturday morning and hearing these blowers, or
Right.
whatever.
But, to the point too, it's not, oftentimes it's not just the residents that are blowing their own leaves, it's the landscapers.
Mhm.
And so speaking to some of the landscapers in the area, how do you, right, so what's a protocol with reaching out to some of these services? Or maybe it's the
It's the residents.
residents have to inform their
Sure.
their employer, like
Yeah.
their landscapers.
They're gonna get the complaint, right? If a complaint came to 45 Maple Avenue, I would get it in the mailbox, and then I would have to tell my landscaper, hey, you were
Right.
here at 6 o'clock on a Monday morning blowing leaves, dude. That's not cool. Okay.
So who writes those tickets?
That's what I don't know who is. It's probably the code enforcement officer for the town. Probably not the police, but I'll find that out tomorrow, and Christie will maybe look at, help me out with it.
Okay, tell us what
Thank you.
to find. Okay, well, we can come back to that one next time. I'd like to, because as I said, out in Los Angeles and the beach towns along the north part of the coast of that county, they tried restricting, eliminating basically gas-powered lawn blowers. And it ended up in a real conflict situation, which ended up next eliminating gas lawn mowers and then court suits, and you can see where it went. So I think what I'm saying is the lawn mowers, the gas blowers, etc., are pretty deeply entwined in the infrastructure, and we're going to have to work it in an intelligent way.
Mhm.
Okay, then next on the line here were the pocket parks and the living shorelines. Was that your item, Brian?
Yeah. So we haven't really done anything with the living shorelines. It's still kind of on the back burner a little bit because of the litigation with the neighbor at De Normandy. I was asked by Teresa to just kind of back off on it for now. The only thing that I did, and it's whatever, the Two River Water Reclamation reached out to me, the executive director, the other day. They have to bring in sand to cover their pipe again, which runs along the riverfront,
Right.
Shrewsbury Yacht Club. So they have their tasks, and they have to maintain sand coverage over that pipe. And over the last 9 years, the last time they did covered it, that wasn't done. They probably didn't put enough sand on it, but it doesn't matter because the tides are higher, so on and so forth. And then they need to get on into all that. So that's going to be a project that I was brought in on to either help with Rice Associates to bring sand out of two local entities that may have maintenance dredging permits that are still valid, but it has to go through approvals by the DEP, or they truck it in. And obviously it's cheaper and less carbon footprint to have somebody come in and dig it out of the two marinas and move it for them, as opposed to trucking in clean sand and all that. So from a carbon standpoint, footprint standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. That's the only thing really on the waterfront and doing that. And I thought it was maybe a way to piggyback on that, to get us some more sand built back up on Robards Beach. But we can't do anything there yet until that settlement is comes to fruition.
And what about the pocket parks on Gillespie? Not Gillespie, but.
No, that's the Normandy. That's Robards. That was
you
just.
know, Grange and Hance Road.
Those are all set. We don't have any say in it. It's already been past that period. And I don't know, I don't know if Mayor Halpern has more information on how close we are to starting those projects, or Councilwoman Neff maybe could give us an update on those. I don't have any additional timelines or guidance on those. I know they were approved. I don't know where they stand now.
Are you talking about the hands?
Anson Grange, and I don't even know what's going on with Baton Rouge.
There's really no update at this point. As far as I know, I haven't seen enough, we went out to bid.
Right.
We haven't heard back.
Okay.
So
Okay,
probably we'll have something soon.
good. Good.
So
That's
they're in
very
process,
pretty.
bid process now.
Both of them will be very pretty when they're done.
Be better than what we have, yes.
Okay, are there any comments? Mayor, would you like to, may I invite you to make any comments that you may want to make? Your thoughts about the environment, what we should be doing and the like.
Yeah, so I don't have anything specific that I think that I haven't said already, other than to thank all of you for your commitment to the borough and the work that you're putting into the environment, not only from the standpoint of it improves the world that we all live in, but specifically as it relates to the borough of Fairhaven. Every time I get on this call, I see the passion that comes through, and when every single one of you speak. And I want to let you know that along with Lillini on this call and the entire governing body, we are listening, and we are looking for ways to improve the way that we live and learn to live with the environment. And we just appreciate the fact that you all have volunteered your time in those efforts. So on behalf of myself and the council, the governing body, and the residents of this town, we really appreciate everything that you do for this community.
Well, thank you very much, and I hope we make you and the whole town proud of what gets done.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to point out that I pointed out in the past, not only did you sit for you were the only acting mayor to ever sit for an EC meeting, you're now two-time attendee as sitting mayor. So thank you for carrying.
I'm gonna go for the hat trick, Brian. I'm gonna go.
Try. I'm not gonna, there's one more left before the end of the year. No, this is it. So, but you made two, and we really appreciate. I know I really appreciate it. It means a lot.
We all do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other thoughts, new topics we ought to consider for moving forward? That we haven't?
I
We've
think
got
we've
quite a
enough
few
on our
things on our
plate
plate.
to Get done. I'd like to see
Okay.
something finished.
Well, then,
We can move into Lillini's council update,
okay, let's do that.
and she'd wanted to discuss the scope and role of EC and GT.
Very good. Lillini?
Yeah, I mean, there is not much to update beyond all the items we've discussed already. I think one thing that I have been discussing with the mayor and other council members is whether there's a better forum for us to bring together the Environmental Commission, the Green Team, the Shade Tree Commission, and the Natural Fields Area Advisory Committee together. Even if it's an informal type forum that maybe the chairs of each of those groups meets every other month, or whether we should consider forming a council level committee that meets every other month. But I feel that sitting here as a liaison and also a liaison of the Shade Tree, of the Green Team, and I also have talked many times with members of the Natural Fields area. I feel that if we work together in some other way, in a more holistic way, we might come up with even better ideas than we have now. So I welcome your thoughts on that. I think each of the groups has a very, I don't want to say narrowed, but it has a certain focus. And it's good in a way, but in a way it's a weakness, because I feel that all the groups, all these environmental groups together we have in Fairhaven could perhaps have greater strength working together. So that's something that I wanted to mention. I'm not sure what's the best forum. And if we want to formalize a forum or have it, like I said, informally, just have the chair or vice chair of each group meet every other month. But I would encourage that we think about that.
Well, Lillini, we could, I think you'll find that at least the chairs read the other groups' minutes, but that's not what you're talking about. You're talking about more than that. And I think if we met, for example, officially met quarterly, maybe the chairs of each of the 4 committees for a starter told each other what they were doing, we'd find areas of overlap, areas of interest, areas of future work, and that would be a very good idea. I'd be more than willing to contribute our part.
Yeah, great. Ralph, I think quarterly could work very well. I think we could do that. Even if it was a 1-hour meeting to just go over what each group is doing and, pick off of each other in terms of ideas. So that's something that, with Mayor here, I wanted to mention it because I've already mentioned that to some of my fellow council members. And the other thought was something I mentioned, I think, in the last meeting. I also think it might be helpful that you present directly to the council every so often, even if once a year, but could be either the chair or the vice chair or another appointed person, and go to the council meeting and maybe one of our meetings present for 20 minutes on what are you working on for the year. Because I feel as a liaison that I can do the best I can to represent you, but it doesn't substitute you, the council being seen by you, even if it's once a year. That's my perspective. That's something that I hope the council will consider, but I also wanted to let you know as a thought that maybe something that we really should do, just to increase that communication, improve the way we're working together. And I agree with Brian, the fact that Mayor Halpern is here it is a big deal, because since I joined the Environmental Commission in 7 years, I had never seen the mayor in any of our meetings. So I think, going further into this idea of working together and having better collaboration, I think that will also go a step further to have you be able to present directly to the council, even if it's 15 minutes, but just be there and talk about what you're working on. Kelly, I think, had a very successful presentation on behalf of the Green Team just a few months ago. And I think that went very well and was very well received.
We'd be pleased to do it, and if you wanted to just go right ahead and work with the council to make an arrangement for a date, we'll go along with it just fine. The other groups, like the planning board, zoning board, they all make presentations to the council, so it's probably the precedent is there. We can just go right ahead in that framework.
And can I just add too, I love the suggestion of all the different environmentally focused groups meeting together. I think just on behalf of the Green Team, and the goal of trying to get our silver certification, as I mentioned earlier, there are many things that these groups are probably doing that fall under the umbrella of the Sustainable Jersey application that we might not be aware of. Or we would love to get their help in helping us achieve this status as well. And so I think collaborative efforts, we're all trying to achieve the same things, build a better community for where we live and work and play. And I think it would be great to have that openness and that communication amongst all these groups. I think that'd be a great.
I think you're right. Why don't Lillini, it was your idea, so I'd like to offer you the opportunity to give an invitation to each of the groups to come, pick a date, and I think all the groups would be very happy to meet one another and have this quarterly meeting. I don't think you'd have to.
Let's do
No
that.
pressure required.
I will work, Ralph, I'll work on sending an email out and, trying to plan for that starting in January, but I think we should definitely do that. I've already spoken with Carolyn Ferguson from Natural Fields.
Good.
And I think she was interested in doing that as well. I also have mentioned that to David Paolo at the Shade Tree. I just think that would be a helpful exercise.
Yeah, it's a natural step forward. Good idea. Go ahead and do that, and we'll join you.
Great.
Okay, any other thoughts, questions, recommendations? Or do we just say Merry Christmas, have a lovely holiday?
We want to open it up to any attendees. Christie, do you have any questions?
Yes, public comment. If you'd like to chime in, please raise your hand and I will move you over. Okay, I'm going to move over Steve Scanlon. Steve, you're muted. Can you unmute?
There you go. Hi,
I may have
Steve.
fixed it. Did that fix?
Yes.
Hi, Steve.
Excellent. Hey, everybody. I very impressed with it, what you're all doing, and want to thank you first off. And I have a little concern regarding the LED lights that are being set up in some of the locations for, I guess, testing for the street lights. I live at 24 Maple Avenue, and there's a light that's catty corner from us in front of the neighbor's house. And at first I thought it was a light that had lost one of its covers. Like they were changing a bulb and failed to replace a cover. And then I had realized that it was a different type of light from the normal ones. Ran into Brian, who was driving down, who lives on my street here. And he gave me the heads up, a little bit of what's going on with a program that is they're thinking about working on with the LED lights, I guess, to save money and get some light in town here too. Just, I guess, because the LED lights supposedly are cheaper to use.
Well, they save energy. We don't save money. Jersey Central does. It's a long story, but it's aggravating.
Okay. Well, just in terms of, well, regardless of the money, just the light pollution. I know that Brian had said that they're using different type of bulbs as well. If you look up at the light, it says it's a 50-watt bulb. And I had dinner at Naboo with my wife and some friends. And I was right where the Christmas tree is in that one table. The light that is in front of Two River Computer is one of the replaced lights, and that's a 90-watt bulb. And
Right.
It's really bright.
It was meant to be a 90-watt bulb. That's right.
That's,
Yeah, so I don't know if there's diffusers. I don't know if there's a cover that can change the look of it. I don't know if I'm the only one that's, I'm not going to say the word complaining, but showing concern. I want to just make sure that all the townspeople that are a part here are able to know what's going on with the lighting. Because also in terms of the light, it's a bright white light as opposed to the other light bulbs that seem to be in a yellow hue.
Yep, that's right.
And when I went to the A&P, well, I called it the A&P in Little Silver, it's the Acme. I drove past the Women's Club, and I saw that they have a pretty good setup there, but
I can't hear him.
Steve,
Steve, you lost your audio.
Steve, we can
Going
see
down.
your mouth moving, but we can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
There
Can
you
hear
go.
me now?
Yes.
So,
Okay. So just, I know River Road has a whole bunch of testing going on. I know Brian's a big part of what's happening, so he could probably fill everybody in on the approach and what we're shooting to do. But my just main concern is, I'd love everyone that's on the board to go to these different locations in the middle of the night, or, you know, after the sun goes down, and just get a feel for what they think their town would look like with the lights, every single street light changed over to the LED. Because I just think it's a concern that everyone should really think twice before we jump to that approach.
so, Steve, thank you. I took your concerns, and I did send an email, as I said I would, to Ralph and some others, Teresa in town. I'm not aware of any other, I don't want to call it complaints or concerns that were brought up. I have done, you know, I was part of, and Ralph will chime in here, part of the team, Ralph and I, to find what lights we wanted to change and why. Some are quite obvious, you know, in front of the schools, in front of the police department, and then just in you know, in some of the neighborhoods. Since you know, when I spoke, I've been in Princeton, of course, Rumson, Little Silver, various towns that have LEDs as well. I changed all mine to LEDs at my office. And yes, they're brighter. It's something that is different. But in terms, I think so far from what I can tell in looking at other towns and other areas that are using them more than what we have with the pilot program, there's more benefits that I can see, and in doing some research online, than, you know, having a brighter light catty corner to our homes. As anything else, it's an adjustment, right? Just no different than our forefathers when they put in streetlights, right? When I was a kid and you were a kid, how many stoplights were in town?
But,
So
let me-
I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but I know it's a concern. There are, in the rest of that, my piece is there are diffusers that are made, so that could be something to take into account with JCP&L to see how they have handled other towns. It's not the first town that they're doing this in, and I don't know enough about it to comment anymore. Hi, Patty.
Could I just ask us, Steve, since we lost some of your voice when you were speaking, what was your comment about the Women's Club in Little Silver, that they had a good arrangement there? Could you repeat what you were saying? Because we lost you at that point.
Regarding the Women's Club, I just started, after I noticed the LED issue, as I drove around looking at other locations, and they're definitely using LEDs at the Women's Club. And you can really feel the aesthetics are completely different. I know you may have to get used to the white light as opposed to the yellowish light, but those are just lights that are on poles that actually have, you know, glass containment of the bulb. this is just almost like a bulb without any cover.
Right.
And if everyone takes a peek at it on your own time, you'll see, not just like staring straight at it from underneath, you'll see it way down the road where I honestly think it could be, you know, I'm not saying it's blinding your car as you're driving, but if 5 lights in the street had the same light, you know, there's one in front of the police station, there's one at the end of Hants Road, down by Cooney Terrace.
That's right.
90 water by the Two River Computer. There's also one on Kemp, down by Willow, and there's one right in front of, on cat corner from our house on 24 Maple Avenue that I know of so far.
Church and the police department, and then over by Nativity.
Let me give you some background here, if I may, for a couple of minutes. I started working this project with Jersey Central Power and Light over a year ago. And they came around to standardizing on 2 lights, 50 watt and a 90 watt light. They recommended the 90 watt lights be used at major intersections, in front of schools, that sort of thing. And so we did follow, Brian was, as he said, he and I drove around, and we identified appropriate trial locations. After we did that, we notified the town in 3 different notices in the town newsletters, online and in writing. And we said we were going to try a dozen locations, and we were inviting public comment. And you are the only public comment we've gotten to date. That's okay. Be proud of it. And the public comment we expected was along the lines that it was too bright, it was too blue. Jersey Central Power and Light said that they had worked with the standards people in the industry standards, and that they were using the recommended bluish white lights. Now, if you use LEDs in your home, you know damn well that you can get lights that are more yellowish, a much softer tint. But they are not going to use those, they said, and they're going to use just these 2. So we didn't put a whole lot in. In general, we tried to replace incandescent lamps, which were burning up a fortune, 200, 130, 190 watt, and I believe 300 watt. And we were replacing those. You can see the obvious 50 watts versus say 135 or 190 on all day, on all night, 356 nights a year. So we are trying to replace those for that reason. We didn't replace all, there are 49 incandescent lamps in town. We didn't replace all of them. We replaced a few as a field trial. That's all we got is a field trial. You were lucky enough to get a field trial in front of your neighbor's house.
True.
But we have not gotten any other requests. Now, Jersey Central Power and Light has gone ahead on their own. They are not going to be putting in any more in the future, any more of the yellow sodium lights. They cannot by law put in any more of the mercury lights. They are going to be putting in LED lights. And they've done, I've noticed they've done it on their own on River Road. Those are not part of our field trial. So I think it's important that we wait and see what other requests we get. I'd be willing to put another notice out in the papers to see if anybody notices it. I've talked to, well, a half dozen people in a group that I am part of. They hadn't even noticed it. I mean, you're very astute. You picked off all the locations. The 90 watt lamp is right outside our house at Cooney Terrace and Hants Road. I wanted to see how annoying that would be.
He doesn't have any lights on in his house right now, Steve. He doesn't need them. No, kidding. Hey, he's legally blind, so he doesn't need them.
Yeah, it's the neighbors around here don't mind it at all. In fact, one of them thinks it's a good idea to have more light where there was none before.
And I also did an informal polling of people and tried to draw some criticism and didn't really succeed to try to
Well,
support it.
In
Well, can-
regards to my, my criticism, I think it's the design, because the way the LED light is, it's just flat with the bulb really exposed. So if you're standing, 100 yards away, it's really bright in that essence. If it was diffused from underneath, or if it was recessed a little bit, similar to the existing lights, it wouldn't be like so bright as you're approaching it. Like it almost
Ralph?
could have
Yes,
something like
Real
that.
quick, I want to just interject. Do we have any input to JCP&L
Yes.
on the design
yes, we
and
do.
diffusers and such? So
We
I
do.
mean, I don't want to entertain this and be like, you know what, guys, we can't do anything about it. They're not
No,
our
no.
lights at the end of the day.
I brought this point up at the beginning. I brought 2 points up after we saw some. You remember, Brian? One was the
Yes.
light is the bluish white. Why can't you get the yellowish?
They said they wouldn't
answer-
budge on that.
The answer was that it's far less illumination and lumens that hit the road.
Right.
And that the color they got is the one that's recommended by the standards organization.
What about diffusers? Did I
The
look
sec-
up?
the
Did I send?
The second item was for cost reasons, if nothing else, they wanted to be able to use a bare bulb and no longer have to put up with glass covers and multiple parts. So the arm that they have designed for this bulb, it's a totally different arm than the other 2 lights. The arm they've designed is a masterpiece of simplicity and few parts.
So is it fair to say that we don't have a lot of input, that this is the designs that they've
We
come up
have,
with? that-
we had the input, but they keep referring to the standards people and what the experts say.
So at the end of the day, as they continue to replace sodium and mercury bulbs with LED, we don't have a lot of input.
I think we could make a lot louder cry, and I think we could have some input. Yeah,
We could if we had some more,
these were civil discussions.
some more support from the criticism side,
Well,
Hey.
trying to
I
be
can-
politically correct.
I have a direct contact there, as you know, Brian, and
Yes.
I will feed this information back to them.
Okay.
See what other models they might consider from another manufacturer. They of course don't manufacture their own. The installation of an arm with a sodium light is almost $500. Labor, 2 trucks, so many people for so many hours, etc.
You mean with the LED light, not sodium?
And the sodium, they don't have a price for the LED yet, but they're trying to make the LED installations very much cheaper.
Right.
And can be done by one person. That's their objective.
I have to say, I do share some of the concern from Steve in the sense that I've mentioned in prior environmental commission meetings that I live right next to Brookside Farm Road. And we have some very beautiful warm yellow lights on the cul-de-sac here. But there's one light that is bright white. And not only it creates a huge distortion from the others, but it's a completely different feel from that warmness of that yellow with the white color. So maybe there's nothing we can do about that and we have to get used to it. But I do have to say, it's actually right across from this window here. It makes a big difference in the
I don't
field.
think it's one of ours, is it? I don't think it's one of the field trial lights.
No, we
It's
didn't
not
do
one of
anything
the
over
field
there.
ones. No, it's not one of the field trials, and I don't know when it was put in, but it's, if you drive to Brookside Farm Road at night, you will notice which light I'm talking about. It's
Yeah,
a-
I think that's 190 watt incandescent, to be honest.
Yes.
Ralph and Brian and whoever else, do we know, is there a difference between the different color, like the bluish LED and the warmer yellow LED? What is more friendly to birds, insects, nocturnal animals? I mean, I'm just thinking of like a natural, from an environment
I have
perspective.
no idea.
Light
No.
is bad for any of them, is the
But,
short
I know
answer.
migrating birds, bats, everything, but you just
So-
also wonder how that can play a part as well.
I had had a concerned citizen email me incessantly for months about this, and I did some, Google research. Any light affects migrating birds, bugs and all that. So the brighter white or blue light is more of a negative, but it wasn't, I didn't see any conclusive evidence that showed that it was that detrimental to wildlife. But any kind of light is not cool because it's unnatural to wildlife.
Yeah, for birds,
but it
no
comes
light,
down-
good light.
At the end of the day, it comes down to cost, safety, and ease of utility, right? Of maintenance. And we have very little say at the end of the day, as Ralph pointed out, they're not our lights. What we wanted to do is try to get ahead of the curve, or Ralph did, to say, hey, we'd like to do this pilot project to see for ourselves how this is going to affect the community. But
I did
eventually, it's going to be done regardless.
We do
Right,
have,
but if
no,
there was also saying, if you were to go to a warmer LED light, it is also beneficial. You're saving still money and electricity, but it's also less harmful to the environment. Right?
Apparently,
So
Ralph
that's,
will get,
and if more townspeople and residents prefer that ambiance and that look, the aesthetic.
apparently Ralph is going to look into that, but there is very little say where they're going to standardize it, right?
yeah, we're gonna request only
See.
50-watt lamps from now
Right.
on.
That's what we can. We know that Ralph knows that we can just say, look, we only want 50s. A
We don't
90
need
is,
90s. We don't even need 90s at the police station, which
No.
Chief McGovern requested a 90. But
Yeah.
we don't need 90s there or in parking lots or anywhere else, in my humble opinion.
yes. I don't know what mine are in my parking lot, but it's bright.
Do
And
they offer, sorry to interrupt, do they offer 35 or 25 watt? Do you
No.
know?
No, they do
50
not.
is the lowest, Stephen.
Okay,
And they make a special kind of light because, as you can guess, they can get broken just by natural effects. They try to make a very strong light for the outdoor use that'll last over all temperature ranges. People throwing stones at it, shooting BB guns at it, whatever.
Guilty.
So we're gonna go for 50s. That's the one conclusion I've reached.
Yes.
How to the
And noted.
let me ask,
Wow.
how did the 50, you've seen the 50s, are they as obnoxious as the 90 is to you?
Depends on where it is. I don't know.
ours
Steve,
is a 50 and it's casting a shadow, in the middle of the night. So, which
Well,
it
that's what
should.
it should do.
well,
I
that's what
understand,
they
but
do.
it's very noticeable is all I can say. But
It
you
is.
guys had mentioned about, getting the word out. And I know that Facebook page, the Fairhaven group page, with, I don't know, 5,000, or I don't know how many members. Is there any way that you guys, and I know it's usually up to that's
Can't hear you again. Your audio keeps breaking up. Steve, your audio keeps stopping. Now you're locked up. No, can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
oh, hello.
Yeah, now we can.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm
So-
a bad cell signal. I guess you guys can't post it, obviously, but I should, at least bring the concern up to let other people take note. That's all.
Well, if you can
We're-
do
we aren't
that,
allowed to be on the other Facebook pages to. for-
Understood.
if you can do that, we'd be happy to have it on Facebook. We tried to get as much publicity and inquiry as possible for this project. Facebook, if it would add to that and get good comments, helpful ones, fine.
Only
Or
thing
keep
I
it
would-
all and we'll work up an entry.
The only thing that I would add to it is just the opposite of Ralph. Close it to comments. If they want to comment or have concerns, to contact the EC and the borough. Otherwise, it's going to blow up. Hence the reason I'm not on Facebook. It's just what my thoughts are.
Yeah, but then you can't squelch, I guess you can if you want.
You don't
If you-
squelch it, you just say if somebody has, we're getting, so public notices are done, by the town almost daily. And it has the numbers and the emails and the contacts that if somebody has a legitimate concern, because as well as I do, Steve, it gets on to Facebook. Number one, everything's true that we read on Facebook. And number two, it's just going to blow out into something. I won't see it, so it doesn't really affect me, but things get way blown out of proportion on those forums. Just
Well, I guess we could go into like
Well, that's
Everyone's gotta have
that's why we're not allowed on it. We're not allowed to do it.
understood.
Yeah.
But the Facebook.
I have
group page,
I have a
you can
question
have
on this
comments on
topic
it.
that we have no ability to affect. What is the criteria for putting up a street lamp? Like we have roads without any street lamps.
Yeah, we do. We have Ridge Road, for example, where enough local residents complained about it that they were all eliminated.
Yeah, I mean, if people don't like the lamps, maybe we just take them out. That'll save even more
Have
energy.
somebody then you have a kid
I-
get killed and you put them back in again. So
Well, same thing with the white light. Maybe you put this off white in, someone says it's too dark and you killed somebody, but we have streets without lights.
Yeah, that's correct. We do. And the people in River Oaks very much opposed streetlights about 10 years ago. And of course, they don't have very many. The streetlights are where they are without, at this point, without any serious
Right.
argument from the residents. And they're there perhaps because the police safety people felt that an intersection needed a street light, or if a school area needed street lights. Other street lights, I have no idea. I think they may have just been put up when the streets were put up.
I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, there's, as you look around, as Brian and I have looked around, there's no clear model for where streetlights should be in town. None.
Yeah, you'd expect them like on a double yellow road, major intersections, but when she said that there was one on Brookside Park that was bothering her, I'm like, why does that tiny little street have a street light? My entire road doesn't have a street light. And she's got 3 on that little road that goes to nowhere.
I
I have
don't
the right
think
road
I
in my
could-
head.
I've thought of
I
that
think that's-
before, but
that's
I don't think.
better
there's-
brought up to the safety director of the town and the county.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
I mean,
know.
that's a good way to save a lot of money. Get
It
rid of
is
them.
until somebody gets killed.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
think anyone's gonna get killed on Brookside Road, driving because they don't have their
I can't-
headlights on. I
I
mean,
can't comment. I grew up on a road with no streetlights, but we owned it.
I'm not going to
Of course.
defend the Brookside Park light.
But,
Okay, folks. I
Any
think-
other comments or concern, public? Christie, do you see?
Yeah, we have 5 attendees. Anyone else? If you would like to add something, please raise your hand. We have Bonnie
Bonnie
Tortilla.
Okay, am I on?
You are on, you are live, Bonnie.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have an option for, anyway, being on video, but, so I just want to say, I'm a member of the Green Team, as you know, and Kelly, thank you. You represent us so well every time. I'm so thrilled to see the environment becoming more important. Thank you, Mayor Halpern, for attending these meetings and expressing your interest in, how important it is. And I think Councilwoman Knapp, I love the idea of these environmental organizations getting together to discuss things that we all care about. I mean, the trees, the environment, the parks, it all comes together. The Green Team, we're all doing the same thing, and we should be in constant contact with each other and working together. It should be everybody's job to implement the Sustainable Jersey actions, because we all have a different knowledge and we can all bring things in and get the points. And I mean, it's just important in that it means that we are doing a better job in our community. I mean, that's what it's all about. And I listened to the discussion about the leaf blowers, and it is, I know the noise is annoying. It's really the pollution that is absolutely incredible. I mean, my next door neighbor had a blower going for an hour. I timed it. They were just blowing leaves. They were professionals. They weren't the residents, and they were away. And an hour of a blower is, I see, the equivalent of 1,100 car miles. I mean, it's excessive pollution. And to say that it's just the way it is and that we just need to deal with it, I think is kind of giving up. I mean, I see it as the landscape companies are the primary problem here. I mean, I have a professional landscape company. I have an electric blower and I do use it every once in a while, but, and I've talked to my guys and they just blew the leaves off the grass into the beds this year. I didn't put them out in the street. I'm trying to do the right thing and keep them in my beds and compost and all that. And it took me all summer to get them to understand what I was talking about. So it is an education.
Bonnie, can I interrupt? Do you have a question for us? I'm just saying.
Well, I'm just saying, I don't want you to give up on leaf blowers. Like, it just didn't seem like you were taking this particularly seriously, like it was a, I don't know. It's just like,
I don't think we know where to go with it.
I don't think, yeah, I think it's way too, all I did was did a little research, and then the time that we had to discuss it, we discussed it. And again, it's a noise ordinance and we, I thought we covered it quite clear in the interest of time. It's after 9 o'clock and I want to eat dinner. We are looking into it. I did not mean to sound dismissive on it.
okay. One other question, I know that the McCarter Pond is the ongoing thing, and I walked by there and saw that there were chemicals poured into it, and I wonder if that's, part of the problem with using it in the fields. And
No.
I would love to see the Environmental Commission step up with any sort of application of chemicals in the town, on the fields, and anywhere else.
That was a program that has been done in the last 5 years as a herbicide to cut down on the growth of the algae. It worked and it didn't. It's very temperamental on the timing of application of those chemicals. None of them are harmful to wildlife. They wouldn't be allowed to be. They wouldn't be allowed to be used in this application. So I've been against them also for other reasons. You're just pouring $5,000 literally into the pond every year and expecting a different result. So that's why we're moving forward with the hydro raking with the intent to do it and alleviate that.
Okay, well, thank you. I hope that we can all work more closely together and get some things done, some important things done in the town. Thanks.
And Bonnie, thank you for your work on the green team too.
You're so welcome, Ralph. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, folks, are there any?
We have another question, Stephanie Adams.
Okay,
Okay, Stephanie, you're muted.
hi, Stephanie.
You gotta unmute yourself, Steph.
Hi.
Hi.
And so not a question, and I know everyone wants to go do what they need to do, but just to kind of further expand on both things that Bonnie said, is, when we're looking at these issues like a leaf blower, like the pond, what we at the green team, a big part of our mission and what we're trying to communicate to the town, we're trying to communicate to the kids is, not just information and challenges, but also changing the way we think about things, changing our mindset and looking at all of these issues in a more holistic, and not to use a, crystal word, but in a more complete fashion, so that, for instance, with the leaf blowers, absolutely, the noise pollution is devastating sometimes, but at the end of the day, it is the air pollution, right, that really becomes troublesome. So I just wanted to, and I know that we're sort of in the early stages. It's unclear to me. I don't know if this is sort of in the green teams, if this is in our basket or if it's in the environmental commission's basket. Kelly, I'm sure you guys can kind of sort of figure out, you know, who's going to take the lead on this, because I think it's definitely worth pursuing.
And just one more thing too, Steph, too, I agree, is that also it's part of, you know, because the air pollution is such a big thing too. If the state is trying to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions by 80% by 2050,
Right.
this is a big thing, right? And I think this community energy plan, if we are serious about reducing our footprint of Fairhaven, this has to be something that is, you know, talking about this holistic thing, you know, way to look at these problems, and, you know, it needs to be taken seriously. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, what, you know, I think we've all agreed, right, that we want this kind of thinking to become part of the town's DNA, because we're the perfect model, right, to change our mindset and start being more sustainable and, you know, all becoming environmental stewards on all fronts. The other thing is, you know, Bonnie, I'm not sure if you were talking about runoff, about the actual chemicals that were going into the pond, or if it's the runoff from people's lawns that's going into the pond. But another thing that we are going to start pursuing is trying to introduce some sort of green landscaping ordinance to the town. This is a big action for sustainable Jersey, taking on green landscaping practices. I have already spoken to DJ, and he sort of pointed me back to Teresa, you know, this is what we use, it's considered safe, blah, blah, blah. So we're gonna try and push that through at some point next year, because we want to really encourage our residents, right, to start being more mindful and start being more sustainable in how they maintain their lawns for the good of all of our waterways. But we think that it's important, it's critical that the town lead by example, right? And that the town be the first ones to say, okay, we are no longer going to put these chemicals into Fairhaven fields right next to the playgrounds where our kids are playing. So again, we can figure out whose basket, you know, I personally, I'm just gonna go as far as I can with it, but I hope that, you know, I hope that you guys, the Environmental Commission, that this is something that you think is worth pursuing, and that we can count on your support to help push this through.
I'm not gonna comment.
Okay.
I gotta go eat my dinner though. Have a good night,
right.
everybody. I think, do we have any more comments?
Hope you get a good steak, Brian.
No,
Anyone else?
Yeah.
I don't see any other.
Can I just say something for 30 seconds? Just
Sure.
30 seconds. I own a landscaping company, work in town, live in town. So I'm listening to everyone's concerns and all that. And I have customers that say, hey, I don't want you to be working at my property around dinner time. So I adjust my schedule based on that request.
Just
And
what I
have
said earlier.
other customers that say, hey, my neighbors have a problem with you here, and I accommodate. So it's just a matter of having a dialogue, talking to your landscaper, and just, you know, this time of year, the leaves, we're going to be done by 4:30, maybe 5 in the dark. So the leaf blowers aren't going this time of year, but and it's only a crunch down time, you know, a couple months. But, you know, just everyone has to talk. That's all.
Just what I said earlier. Thanks, Steve. I was hoping you would chime in.
And
You were my
you
resident
do a great
expert.
job around here too.
And I just want to clarify, we're not a commission that's tasked to put through a bunch of ordinances. We can make suggestions to the governing body, which is their ultimate responsibility. So I think from my standpoint of being here 15, 20 years, you know, we've done a lot. People want to take credit. We did a lot in the last 2 years because of whatever, that's fine, take it. But, you know, I'm not going to sit here and listen to, oh man, oh, look at this, you know, great change we made in a year, which is great. And it's awesome. But again, I just want to reiterate, we're not a governing body that's tasked to put through more and more ordinances in the town.
But I do also think that we have our own responsibility for the town to make things better with the environment. The more we know the more we know about different applications of chemicals. And as a concerned mom of 4 whose kids play on the playground as well, I want to know what's sprayed on that field. And I think that requires us to look into these issues and give our opinion. It's not to say let's make an ordinance, but let's approach it in an informed, systematic way to figure this out.
100%. It's all posted, by the way. All that data is available through the town of what they put on the fields and when. And I've pointed this out, and I'm not a big proponent of chemicals by any stretch. New Jersey, believe it or not, has the most stringent laws, and Steve will back me up, in terms of chemicals and fertilizers and such that people can use on their lawns. But to start coming in with ordinances on, making people plant this and plant that, you're gonna lose really the commission.
And I don't think we're trying to do that, but I think this whole thing about education and talking to one another and what Steve brought up too, and I think the dialogue, we're all trying to do the best. We all love where we live. We love the environment. We need to take care of it. We have a very unique geographical location as well, being on the river. And I think we have a responsibility to uphold and do our best. And I think just open communication, education is definitely the best route to go than forcing people to do things against their will. I think most people, if you were to educate them about the importance of this, they'd say, of course, I care about what my kids play in, or I care about noise, and I want to support local businesses, of course.
That's why I said what I said, and that everything that I talk about is always coming from the educational standpoint and the communication as Steve brought up. And I'm very cognizant of that. And nobody's been here longer than me and a bigger steward of the river. So, and I think
a lot of items for the, a lot of items for the EcoFest then.
Yes, we do. And I've been trying to do it for 3 years to put together EcoFest and we never had it, where it never, it just got caught up. Education is huge. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. We're doing what we're doing, and I'm behind it.
Okay, I think it's getting on to 9:30, and probably that's a reasonable hour to end this. Is there any other really important thing that we missed? Okay, well, I then adjourn the meeting. Oh, okay, there's a hand up.
No, I'm saying.
No, he
goodbye.
was saying good night.
Okay.
I was.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you all for
Thank you.
coming.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn, second, third. Good night.
So.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Night, everyone.
Bye now.
Good night, guys.